All yours.
All right. Hi, Yael. Thank you so
Hey, what's
much.
up?
Thanks for joining me here on Vonvo.com today. Um, and I really want to just dive right into everything going on in Israel. Where exactly are you located? And are there any missiles falling around you right now? What exactly is going on?
I'm located in Ramat Hasharon. It's roughly 10 kilometers north of Tel Aviv. Due to the ceasefire that was conducted 3 days ago, there are no missiles being launched. Well, nowhere, especially in Ramat Hasharon. I've kind of lucked out to be in one of the safest place around. We're roughly 75 to 80 kilometers from the Gaza Strip, meaning only there's only few missiles that can actually target the area, and there were only around 5 to 6 bombings in the area. They were conducted mainly in Tel Aviv. That because after military service, you kind of grows accustomed to that missiles and bombing and red code and running to shelters. A drill that you become well growingly accustomed to. And I guess it kind of sums it up in a way that there's something that after a while you become accustomed, and you still every single time there is an event and you hear a bombing and you hear there was a murdered kid or children, you see children running to shelters. It kind of like burns a hole into you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how old? That's it. How old are you exactly, Yahel?
I'm 23.
You're 23. Okay. And
23.
1 second. I'm 23 years old also. So why don't you explain to people, as a 23-year-old, how living in Israel just totally disrupts your life in terms of living just incredibly normal life. What's different about your life in Israel?
First of all, the main issue, I have a lot of friends from the States, from Canada and from England. I've studied from England when I was a bit younger. I was around 10 or 11. And a lot of friends from after the age of 17 or 18 go straight to college. Whereas then I only began my bachelor at the age of 20, 21, almost 22. A lot of my friends are already with a master's degrees as I'm speaking, as I'm like in my third year. Yeah. And there's a huge difference. You begin your life a lot later, and along with it, there are a lot of things that you gain and lose in your perspective in life.
Yeah.
Part of being serving in the military is something that you growingly understand. There is a dire need for that.
I want to continue talking about that, but someone named Dave who's listening to our conversation right now, they posted a conversation inside the text box. So do you want to just scroll down and read it and answer the question for Dave?
Yeah, no problem. What would a ground operation, permanent occupation? Oh, of course not. Okay, a ground operation. We had 2 years ago. We had the Ironclad Operation, or Vertical Operation. What we did there is we were looking for missiles and rocket safe houses. We were looking for headquarters of Hamas. We were looking for barracks. We were looking for training sites. This is the main goal we were looking for. And this is the only objectives that we had during the Ironclad Operation. We went there for 6 days, and the operation ended, and there's not a soldier there. Obviously, there's not going to be a permanent occupation. We're not going to occupy that land. We left that land in 2005, and we're not going to come back there.
Mm-hmm. I've done a bunch of reading about how there are a lot of security checkpoints and roadblocks, not even just around the Gaza and West Bank border, but also within, the actual internal sections of the country. And I wanted to find out, what is your opinion on that? Because, a lot of Palestinians say that they're not really able to live, just like how you guys aren't really living a normal life. It disrupts them from living a normal life because of that sort of stuff. Do you hear that as well?
Obviously. First of all, I totally agree. But that's unfortunately something that we can see all over the world. I was at Croatia 3 years ago, and there was it was a huge war in 1991 when Yugoslavia was separated into 7 countries. There was a huge war as well between Yugoslavia and between Croatia and Montenegro. What happened was, when I drove Croatia to Montenegro, there was a traffic jam of 7.5 hours, and the only reason for that is because one of the security guards was Croatia, and one of the drivers was from Montenegro, and the security guard served at the war, and he still had bad taste from all days, so he decided to open up the car completely, and he took up the fabric, and he took up the seats, and he took up everything he could from the car, completely detached the car, and to say it was a bad decision, to say that it's inhumane, I agree in a lot of ways. The problem is, what's the reason that we're doing that, and what's the reason that it's conducted? I think after it's similar in a lot of ways to the story Wolf. Mm-hmm. I think after one time, and after like several times that there was a security check and there was a bombing occurring, when we understood in a lot of ways that after having strict security checks, we can actually reduce the number of casualties on both sides. Because what happens is, whenever there's a bombing, there's always a retaliation. It's always happening.
Yeah.
So bombing is bad for both sides.
Yep.
So if we can actually reduce the numbers of bombing happening, if we can actually doing that by merely straightening out the security checks, it's beneficial in a lot of ways to both sides.
Okay. I guess what I'm really just, interested in it, and I think because I want to, over the over the next conversations that I have, it could be with you or other Israelis that I've been speaking to, and just so you know, we're going to be having some Arabs and Palestinians hopefully appear on Vonvo and share their side of the story. But what I want to just kind of know is, like, if Israelis and Jews are going to build these really nice settlements, on what's technically considered Palestinian land, yes or no, do you think it's right? And if you're gonna build the settlements there, do you think Palestinians should be allowed to live inside these really nice, built out homes as well?
First of all, obviously, I believe in a lot of ways that it's the same thing that happened. I'm a law student, and it happens a lot of times. I'm reading a lot of verdicts that Arabs were looking for Israeli Arabs were looking to live in Israeli villages and Israeli settlements. It's a difficult concept on a cultural level. One of the thing was on a social level, people want to live close to people that look like them, talk like them, and sound like them. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why groups are forming. And that was one of the reasons why people don't want to live, why potentially Jews don't want to live next to Arabs, Arabs don't want to live next to Jews, regardless of the dispute.
Yep.
And for me, obviously, I wouldn't be bothered by Arabs living in settlement, but that's something neither side wants.
Yep.
I have Arabs living in my city as well. I have Arabs studying with me at school. They're here. We're here as well. They're here as well. I've never found it to be problematic.
Hey, you hear us, Dave?
Yes.
Awesome. You're coming in much more clear now.
I hear you have to wrap up, so I'll let you do it. It's
Do you have any other? Ask him. I'll let you take the last question, David, if you want. That's fine.
Well, I'll just clarify my question earlier. It was not saying that necessarily Abbas was doing a good job in with Gaza, I guess. It was more of a follow-up to what you said about him. I mean, again, to labor on this, but it was about you saying earlier that you thought he was at least trying to keep the peace, or that he was at least trying to broker a deal maybe between the parties. I was just wondering whether he could actually be a true answer in this. But you answered it correctly. I mean, appropriately. I thought what you said about Morsi was absolutely correct. Whether anything's going to happen, we'll see, especially with these new protests regarding his executive.
Right, he's back. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, Yahel, I'll leave you with one last question that I kind of ask everyone that comes on to Vonvo to kind of answer, and we'll end it at that, and we'll try and reconnecting tomorrow as well. What message would you like to share with the world and anyone who were to be watching this video any a week from now or whenever?
Wonderful. I think one of the major things, and I think that's one of the major benefits that Vonvo has to offer, is actually the opportunity to have a complete, full, open, hearty discussion over grave things that actually matter. And I would very much love any Arab or anyone with different views to have a conversation, to come, ask, talk, approach, or write, whatever it is. I think that's probably the only solution that we have. And after seeing what happened in the past 2-3 years, both in the Arab lands as well as Israel, that I believe that people is the only solution that we have. I think the leaders were unsuccessful for decades, and I think the solution is going to come from us. So
that's great.
I'm welcoming anyone.
Very well said.